group, as it were, ensuring that we tackle the issues of Petro SA financial crisis, to ensure that the group is financially, commercially sustainable, to ensure that we have initiatives that will ensure growth so that we don't continue to erode value in the total group. Two, to drive growth, as I said, amongst those is to ensure that we acquire new assets that are available in the market, and I'm sure it's common knowledge of some of the assets, mainly the Romco pipeline, where Sasol is intending to dispose its assets that we are interested in, and we are working closely to finalize that process. Three, the development of a key energy infrastructure, and four, the group consolidation, which includes a number of long-term key initiatives, wherein we are looking at increasing our market share by about 5% in the medium-term expenditure framework, and also the 4 billion return on assets by 2025, wherein we improve as well on the brand reputation score, about 75%, and a 2.7 billion income from new business, details of which are in our plan. The next one, the strategic rationale and key objective for the measure are indeed derived from the analysis of looking at the business of today and how the group look like tomorrow. Bearing in mind that the initiative of the restructuring is meant to be finalized in the 6 months, as it were. The presentation has vanished. I don't know. Can somebody who's driving it basically project it, because it's important that we talk from the same page. Abednego, thank you. The next one.
Okay.
Abednego, the next slide. It's like Abednego is struggling.
Can you connect them?
Is it better now, Chair? Is it better now, Chair?
It is projecting, but it is, I said, move to the next slide. We are missing Abednego. If I may continue, perhaps, because the next slide is meant basically to unpack the business of today, progress to date. Perhaps as you will be doing that, we will be able to progress. But in as far as Petro SA crisis is concerned, there are a number of initiatives underway for dealing with Petro SA liquidity challenges to avoid organizational collapse. Feedstock initiatives, we are leveraging the group balance sheet and assets by purchasing condensate for Petro SA as they process it in the current refinery. Cost optimization, contracts negotiations, payment terms are renegotiated, and also we're looking at the concept of shared services. Operational efficiencies, the GTL refinery focus, we're looking at capacitation of the trading and supply component of our business, because that's where we see growth coming from. To the strategic direction overall, we have secured the services of external service providers, as you are aware, to assist the group with the following one: to develop the SAFE group strategy, that is, in terms of us playing a role in the region and the continent, and looking at the opportunities that would not erode value, as it were. 2, 3, the acquisition and funding strategy. It will be developed in this process, through this process as well. Also, the new operating model will be designed to look and to give a look and feel of the group that will be sustainable. Governance structures, appointments of the boards and subcommittees have been finalized. Group business performance oversight priority focus has also been finalized. Monitoring and evaluation and automation of reporting initiatives so as to have a view of what is happening in subsidiaries and for interventions to take place almost immediately. Adoption of the group parenting strategy and constitution of the Chairs Forum has also been initiated so that there's coordination and timeous feedback throughout the business. Capabilities, appointment of the group CEO CEOs have been finalized throughout the group, and ongoing capacitation of key managerial roles continues. Group competency metrics have been developed. Development of key policies to give effect to talent attraction, retention, and development. Financial sustainability, an aggressive drive towards acquisition of operating assets, and also through the process of conducting due diligence processes. Portfolio diversification initiatives have been basically identified, and we are looking at opportunities downstream as well. Reprioritization of the group funding activities to take into effect short, medium, and long-term results. I see, Abednego, we have not been able to move. I will continue for now with the details on business of tomorrow, and I would request Abednego, therefore, to ensure that we are able to move because the next slides would be new, as it were. Business of tomorrow, we are ensuring that we have to be an efficient and effective integrated commercial viable SOC that contributes to socio-economic growth. We will be at the forefront of developing new energy solutions for the country through innovation, thought leadership, and strategic partnership. The long-term growth and commercial sustainability will be achieved through a balanced portfolio of assets and services that deliver value. As a result, giving the context on the socio-economic context, is that we know that the outcome of these initiatives will be the realization of economic transformation, job creation through strategic partnerships to support the department's delivery of the security of energy supply and mandate and to ensure that the transition that the country experiences to low carbon footprint is that one of is happening in a just form. And the new energy technologies in support of the security of energy supply are being explored, and financially sustainable integrated holding company and the group will be realized. I'm being advised that honorable members have got presentations because I don't know, the presentation is frozen. I'm now on slide 10, where it says key project deliverables and benefits. Okay, next one, key project deliverables. Yes, thank you. The detailed corporate plan, corporate strategy is expected as an outcome of the work to be done by the service provider, wherein we will be able to define clearly where we're going to play as a group. The new cooperating model and organizational structures would be defined. We'll revise the legislation and MOIs to ensure that there's seamless flow of information and inputs both from the group, the head office, to the subsidiaries, and the feedback back to the head office again. Detailed funding plans are in the process of being finalized as well, and the group restructuring is continuing as we said. Of course, the intended benefits of the restructuring itself, we're looking at the growth initiatives vertical integration of the group itself, and to ensure that we become the leading energy player in the country. So back into the gist of the presentation now, page 11, implementation partners. In order to, the next one. Yes. Yes, Abednego. Thank you. The implementation, in order to provide the assurance of the capabilities of our implementation partners, the group has appointed AT-Kenny Consortium, which is formed by AT-Kenny itself, Bayachula, and Mazars. Collectively, they have experience of about 94 years in operations, and they are in over 90 countries, and they also have served the companies in the Fortune 500, and in terms of their track record as well, they've been engaged in a number of mergers and acquisition, and they are still in the continent and specifically in energy companies. They are involved in a number of companies, and they have a footprint throughout the province, the continent itself, and also in Asia. In terms of their clientele, the next slide 12, yes. They have been in a number of course, they have a number of clients. They have also serviced us previously, and also our sister companies, Romco and others as well. So we were convinced that they are capable of taking us forward with the restructuring initiative. Page 16, proposed project approach. Thank you. The proposed project approach, the measure is planned, like I said earlier on, to be finalized in 6 months' time. Phase 1 would include the development of strategy and the measure design, which will take about 8 weeks. There will be a measure detailing activities, will take about 6 weeks, and there will be measure implementation, which will take 10 weeks to complete. Following which there will be there is already an established integration management office, as it were, and the biggest task would be to ensure that we change the culture in the organization, and that will happen through change management initiatives. Phase 2, the transition support will then be defined post the 6 months. If the initiative has been a success and we are happy with key milestones, we will then extend the support project if the need arises. Project organization. The next slide. 17, please. Abednego. The project organization. In terms of the project organization, the proposed structure is based on best practice of large and complex projects to ensure seamless execution and taking all stakeholders on the project journey. It is also premised on the strength of the integration office, which will become key in being the engine room of coordinating a number of key project outputs for informed decision making. There will also be work streams and work stream leads who will lead specialist function areas such as human capital, information technology, communication and finances, etc. Key benefits of the project organizations are the high visibility of the project objective, improved project control and oversight, better coordination and accountability, quick decision making, ability to deal with group-wide complexities. Specialists lead their respective areas, of course, and in which case we expect to realize the improved efficiencies. Key support dependencies. Next slide, please. 19. Abednego. Slide 19. Key support dependencies. Here, the key support dependencies have been defined both within the business itself and within the governance structures of the business. For an example, when it comes to stakeholder management, the ownership thereof lies, of course, with us as the group to ensure that we have mapped all the stakeholders accordingly, an activity that has been completed. And as early as this week, we've already started to engage key stakeholders in as far as the project movement is concerned. The speed of decision making is basically intended to establish and endorse the project and measure process and governance to enable adequate and speed of decision making. The fiduciary duties of various boards remain intact to ensure that the measure does not jeopardize the financial and regulatory compliance. Next slide. In terms of the way forward, which is slide 19, the planned measure and other group restructuring activities form part of the group strategic trajectory for improving our commercial sustainability through the stabilization of ailing entities and setting the group for long-term growth. Key to the above is the stabilization and restructuring of Petro SA, which is faced with financial crisis and technical insolvency. The planned set of projects are expected to take 6 months, culminating in the formation of an integrated NewCo. To ensure maximum success, an external implementation partner, as earlier indicated, with vast experience in mergers and acquisition and organizational turnaround, has been selected to support the SEF group. A robust project governance structure has been set up to ensure that the project is implemented with precision and that key decisions can be taken as quickly as possible. Various modalities as to the structure and construct of the new entity will form part of phase 1 activities, along with other regulatory, legal, strategic, and operational requirements. Each phase will have a stage gate process where key approvals will be made in consultation with key stakeholders before moving to the next phase. We are confident, Chairperson, that this initiative will bear the desired outputs as part of the group renewal strategy. Thank you.
The next up, please.
Welcome to the Honourable Members Committee. I'm David Nichols. I'm the Chairman of the Nexa Group, and we'll hand over in a second to Ayanda Mayoli, who's the Acting Group Chief Executive, to make the presentation. That's a bit of background. First of all, in terms of the current crisis, we've had Ayanda just returned from being on sick leave due to COVID-19. And for information for the members of the Portfolio Committee, we've just issued the advert for the appointment of the permanent Group Chief Executive, having resolved the issues with the previous Chief Executive. As a lead-in to the discussions, I will comment that at the board level, to support rationalization of the group, we have appointed the members of the holding committee company, that is the Nexa board members, as board members of Pelchem and of NTP. So we have a common board across the three organizations while we carry out the process being put in place by the CEO. And we've created a subcommittee of the board to manage the restructuring of the organization. And that subcommittee consists of the ex-chairman of NTP, the ex-chairman of Pelchem, both of whom are board members of Nexa at this point, myself, and the DMI board member representative. So with that very brief background, I'll pass across to Ayanda. Ayanda?
Mr. Mayol, are you in? Next chair, it seems.
Okay, I'm still on then. Okay, that was so I've done an introduction. Okay, the attention has been placed onto the Nexa, the new Nexa board that was appointed in January of this year, and the intention is to move Nexa into potentially a single operating company. We currently have three major. We have the parent company, Nexa Group. We have two main subsidiaries. One of which is Pelchem, which is the chemical industry with fluorochemicals, and the other one is NTP, which is the radioisotope and exports radioisotopes around the world. So the intention is to repurpose this. We've clearly had a priority in the company over the previous few months of getting the corporate plan resolved. The board inherited a corporate plan that indicated a 230 million rand loss this current year, before the impact of COVID-19. That has been reissued. We just recently got approval, or the board approved the revised five-year corporate plan, and that's been submitted to the DMRE. The second priority on the list is actually clearly this rationalization, and the intention is to ensure that in redoing this, the core mandate as derived by the Nuclear Energy Act will not be compromised. And clearly this is relevant in terms of discussions of the extension of Kuberg's life and the potential the IRP discussion of the 2,500 megawatts, although that is not actually in the current corporate plan as a financial activity. So if we can go to the next slide, please. Okay, so we've established, as I said, we've established a restructuring board subcommittee, and that board subcommittee, because in the appointment of the current board of Nexa, we had both the chairman of what was NTP board and the chairman of what was the Pelchem board appointed to the main board. So we've made that committee up of the chairman of NTP, the previous chairman of NTP, the previous chairman of Pelchem, myself, and the DMRE representative. We've agreed the terms of reference for the external independent service provider. That was approved in July. And we are currently very close to appointing a service provider to manage the process of creating a restructured organization. Next slide, please. So the current schedule that we have, which we put in, which is what we're aiming to achieve, is that the next board meeting in September will be with the feasibility study. The consultation with stakeholders will occur a month later. We will then come back to the board with the new organogram, the new business model, operating model in November. That again will be a business model that's based on the current corporate plan, the revised corporate plan that has been the emphasis of the board for the last few months. And we intend to submit it to the minister for approval in February of next year. We would then assume that we will be able to complete the implementation in August of next year. So it's seeing about 12 months, and it'll be finalised in the next financial year. We believe it is important to ensure the correct consultations as we go through with the different stakeholders, including, very importantly, labour. Last slide, a bit of background. We have had a significant impact on our commercial activities in both Pelchem and NTP, and I would just comment to the portfolio committee members that we're now producing 100,000 litres a month of a sanitizer as part of the repurposing to support the current activities. It's also important then to emphasise that the Kettlebell Pharmaceuticals, which is a state-owned pharmaceutical company, which is presently 100% owned by Pelchem and is intended to be moved to 50% Pelchem, 50% Mintech, obtained the relevant Section 54 ministerial approvals to move forward into the process of setting up a joint venture with an overseas organisation to establish ARV production in this country. That's my last slide, and I apologise for Mr. Mayoli must have fallen off the system due to the joys of modern electronics. So with that, I'll pass back to the Secretariat. Thank you.
Dr. Mate. Dr. Mate.
Thank you, Chair. I am here. Thanks a lot, DG. I think on the issue of SANEDI, quite a lot of progress has happened. We are looking at transferring 7 employees from SANEDI to the CGS so that we move on with the CCUS project, and the budget that goes with that project will also be transferred to the CGS. But maybe let me request Mr. Mabuza to give further details if there are any. Thanks, DG. Mr. Mabuza. Or maybe let me continue if Mr. Mabuza is not there, Chair. As I said, quite a lot of progress has been achieved. As I said, also, the employees will be moving over to the CGS, and the responsibility with regards to project management, the planning of that, and the technical work will all be undertaken at the CGS. Approvals have been received for the transfer of project funds. I noted this earlier, from both non-government funds and from the government funding. And the non-government ones is the funding by the World Bank for the carbon capture project. We have agreed with SANEDI that all the assets and obligations that are attached to the CCUS project will go over to the CGS. And we've reached agreement that the staff will also be at the CGS by the 1st of September. Next slide. Next slide, DG. But I think this probably is the final slide, basically saying that by the 1st of September, the project will be complete and the CCUS will be running from the CGS. Thank you, DG.
Over to you, Honourable Minister.
We struggle to unmute. Those are the presentation, Mr. Chairperson. I think we can field questions now from the portfolio committee and try to give answers to questions of the portfolio committee. Thank you very much for the opportunity. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Honorable Minister and your team for the presentation. Let me say first, the only thing we don't know who's the acting chair from SAF since the departure, untimely departure of Dr. Nyande. We're also not sure of the CEO. It would have been nice if they introduced themselves so that we know who's talking to the committee. I don't know what happened to the CEOs of two entities. The acting CEO of NEXA and the CEO of CGS. It means DG, your 4IR work needs to be brushed up a bit so that they don't disappear. I can imagine if it was a board meeting and it's done virtually and the CEO has just virtually disappeared. So please, next time you must make it a point that the chair indicate even on the operators of this the virtual meeting, just to know that they are not there, or send an SMS to you so that we don't wait. If they're struggling, we must be aware that they're struggling so that the chairperson can immediately move on once that technicality is being addressed. But having said so, Honorable members,
sorry, Chair. Apology, Chair. Can I just come in? This is Humphrey Mate. I just wanted to indicate that Mr. Mabuza was on, and I had not looked at my cell phone. He had just sent me a message that he will rush to the committee meetings because there are committee meetings with the board next week. So just apologies for that, Mr. Chair.
Chairperson, it's Ayanda Miodi here. Also, apologies from my side. My Wi-Fi connection at home went down for a few minutes. I had to restore it through my cell phone. So I am back. My apologies, sir.
Let me start on Mr. Mate. Don't make it worse. Let's just say, Dr. Mate, deal with that issue with the department. The fact is that if Mr. Mabuza was here and was going to a committee meeting, we should have known. We can't only know because it's not now proceeding. We should have known, like you say, he should have also notified you that you will be attending to other board committee meetings. Thirdly, what could make matters worse is that when a person is invited to appear before a portfolio committee, then he is in charge of those committees of CGS. To now make those committees much more superior or bigger than the Committee of Parliament, that's why I'm saying it makes it worse. Mr. Mioli, that's not an issue to have a problem. The point we are saying is that when that problem occurs, can your superior, whether the chair, the DG, or the minister, identify that, hey, I've got this challenge because your phone was working. So the moment you mute your phone, you mute your system, it is easy to then call, because if the minister is here, or the DG is here, or your chair is here, there's muted out and muted. Somebody is busy also making another noise like Potter. Can you please switch off your mic so that we don't hear dishes and everything, please? So I'm saying the chair then the CEO would have just moved on and say, no, the CEO has got a problem, technologically is having a challenge and more. The problem is that now we only get that when presentations are made. So please, next time, anyone from the department, make it a point if you've got a problem, indicate in advance so that the committee can move and run smoothly. But having said so, honorable members, can we start with the
Chairperson,
Yes, Minister.
let me take responsibility for all the hiccups. We'll address them.
Okay, thanks very much. Honorable members, we'll follow the normal procedure. We will start with, I don't want to give you, I'll try and be as fair as I can. We will take 3 minutes again from each member. I've seen your names. You know how sometimes we do it. Number one, it will be Honorable Mashaule. After Honorable Mashaule, it will be Honorable Mailam, your 3 minutes. After Honorable Mailam, it will be Honorable Sonyane. After Honorable Sonyane, it will be Honorable Malinga. After Honorable Malinga, I'm trying to check which are other members that are present here. After Honorable Malinga, it will be Honorable, I didn't see Honorable Ngumalo, neither did I see Honorable Zungula and others, so they will indicate. After Honorable Malinga, is Honorable.
I'm here, Chair.
Oh, okay.
Who is here?
Zungula.
Mr. Zungula, Chair.
Oh. Hello, Mongameli.
Diabolisa, Tata.
So it will be after Honorable Malinga, it will be Honorable Zungula, because I can't see Honorable Ngumalo, or I see now Honorable Zungula. After Honorable Zungula, it will be, is Honorable Bilankulu still here? I don't see him. There he is. It will be Honorable Bilankulu. I didn't see Honorable Vulmarans. And then it will be Honorable Mtenjana. After Honorable Mtenjana, keep your thing. After Honorable Mtenjana, it will be Honorable Phillips. And then it's Mr. Kula. Are you still here, sir? Is Mr. Kula still here?
Yes, I am here.
Okay, then Mr. Kula will be the last one.
I'm also here, Chairperson.
Yeah?
Yes, I'm also present, Chairperson. Golmaran.
Now you will come before Honorable Mtenja.
Sir.
Okay. Honorable Masaule.
Thank you very much, Chairperson.
We are only for now dealing with the SAF presentation, but if a member has got an opinion on the overall issue of restructuring, that will be allowed. But if there's a specific issue with regards to SAF or NEXA and CGS and SANEDI, we will deal with those issues according to the entities. So I just wanted to say that we can't limit if it's a principle on restructuring. That we will allow it now, instead of going back later. But if it's a specific to the presentation, for now we're dealing with SAF.
No, thank you, Chair. Just one from me, going to SAF. We all know that restructuring means change, and change can only be good to others and bad to others. I just want to know the plans to avoid mass retrenchments, especially at Petro SA during the merger. I am well aware that there were timelines on stages of the merger. But surely there is a plan, there is a thinking around avoiding and handling the way in which retrenchments are going to happen in Petro SA. It is normally an inevitable situation to happen. So I just wanted to know that what are the plans in place to avoid such? Thank you.
Chair, can I go ahead?
Yes.
Thank you, Chair. Chairperson, first of all, let me thank the presenters. I am concerned, however, about the lack of detail. So we get a lot of generalizations about what they're going to do, but no specifics as to when, how, exactly what it entails, etc. Chairperson, let me start with a concern that we identified as a committee when we did our oversight to the various entities last year. One of the things that we noted was that there was an overlap between the role of PASA and Petro SA from a commercialization aspect, and that also PASA to a certain extent performed a regulatory function that might be better fitted inside NERSA. So I'm surprised to see that hasn't been taken into account here and accommodated in the rationalization and amalgamation process to ensure that the new entity is better suited for the commercialization of petroleum products. Obviously, a lot of this depends on legislation as well, and I would ask that we prioritize dealing with the petroleum products bill that is awaiting further input from all of us, and that we need to prioritize that. Then, Chair, with regard to the entire process, or let me back up a step. First of all, there were 3 partners that were identified, and I'm curious to know what procurement process was followed in the appointment of those partners and what the cost of that project is, what it is anticipated, and how it has been budgeted. Lastly, Chair, from a more overview, you did say that we could talk about principles and sort of a more general perspective, and maybe the minister can give me some input on this. Section 6.1 of the National Energy Act requires that the minister annually publish the Integrated Energy Plan, which is the roadmap for South Africa's energy sector. This has not been done for many, many, many years. So perhaps the minister could give us some idea of what the status of the Integrated Energy Plan is, when he intends to publish the next Integrated Energy Plan, why he is non-compliant in this regard, and why we should even consider any of these amendments until such time as we have a roadmap for South Africa's energy sector. Thank you, Chairperson.
Diana Mamswanyani, don't wait for me.
Thank you, Chair. Chairperson, you know, restructuring by its nature, it means that people are going to lose their jobs. And I did not hear properly in this whole plan, what is the plan to make sure that people do not lose their livelihoods? What's going to happen to the people? Because obviously some departments will be closed. And then when those departments are closed, what then is going to happen to those people? And then secondly, Chairperson, honestly, I'm also was pulling my hair off because I wanted to understand this implementation partners, exactly how much are they going to cost? Because I can see it's a company, it's not a South African company exactly. And could we not find any other company within the South African borders? But in the end of the day, exactly how much can we get it in rands? How much these implementation partners are going to cost us? Thank you, Chair.
Mama Ling.
Good morning, Chairperson. Thank you very much. Good morning to the Minister and our guests and the department administrative staff as led by the DG and my colleagues in the PC. Chairperson, let me welcome the presentation as done by all the entities. Chair, before I ask questions, I would have loved DG that the department through you outline the issue of diesel, shortage of diesel in the country. Chairperson, it has been in our screens, TV screens, that we are running out of diesel in the country, how the department has mitigated that effect. Also, Chairperson, to go to my questions, I don't understand, Chair, the issue of moving Sanedi employees to CGS. Are they only being moved only for this project? Or is it that after the project has been concluded, then people will lose their jobs? Chairperson, is the merger going to assist Petro SA in terms of the feedstock? Ever since we have been into this committee, we have been notified that the feedstock will be depleted by this year, December 2020, at Petro SA. I heard the presenter of SEF when he said the asset will assist in terms of feedstock. I don't understand that one, Chair. If maybe when they come back for answers, he could just elaborate on that one, Chair. I also saw on Nexa Group, Chair, that Pelchem is also producing sanitizers. Restructuring of this or rationalization of the entities in DMRE, is it to deal with overlapping mandates? I think also Mintech is also producing sanitizers. Is it making a financial sense that entities in one department, they both compete or produce the same product, Chairperson? I'm not sure, Chairperson, because the last time we had Nexa in our meeting, we had Nexa and Labor. Is the relationship, I did not hear the Chairperson outlining also, because we need to be concerned, because we can't have productivity when administration or managers and labor are not in good terms. Are managers and labor in good terms now at Nexa? Thank you very much, Chair.
Honorable members, all those that are men in particular, don't do what Honorable Malinga did, because you are not Honorable Malinga. I can't, it's the month of women. So I could not say, hold on, we'll deal with the other issues. So stick to the procedure for now. One, we're dealing with self. We will come to other entities like they presented differently. So I want us to do justice. But because it's August, I could not say I became sensitive. So Honorable Malinga or Sonyane or Honorable Phillips. You must stick to the procedure. Honorable
It's me, Chair. Thank you, Chair. Morning, Minister, honorable members, and all invited guests. My first question is, what is the strategic rationale of merging 3 diverse subsidiaries of CEF, which are loss-making, with Petro SA in particular having no certainty as a going concern? And how is such rationale for a merger going to address issues raised in the 2005 Morane investigation team report on fuel shortages? paragraphs 20 and 25 in particular. The second question is, can CF provide assurances and evidence that Petro SA patented gas to liquids technology is stored in a highly secured environment? There are reports that this patented GTL technology has fallen into the wrong hands and that there's an intention to dispose it to a certain multinational company at a fraction of its value. Lastly, what are the advisory fees budgeted for the merger of Petro SA, SFF, and iGas? And what is the capital investment budgeted for by CEF for the merged entity to be sustainable and profitable and to trade instead of fuel products, which will be procured from international third-party producers? Yet the merged entity will have no network of distribution and retail outlets. Thank you.
Babu Bilangulu. Mayor Bilangulu. Okay. Nomzamo Vulmarans.
Chairperson.
Yes.
With regard to self, I'm also a bit covered by the previous speaker with regard to the time. When you look at the self measures at slide 16, it shows proposed project approach, and it also shows how long it is going to take, plus minus 6 months. And there's different strategies which are divided into weeks. What it does not make clear is from exactly when. We have the time frame, but we don't know, or it is not showing there, and then maybe I've missed it. When exactly is it going to start? On the other entities, you can see that they say it's going to start in September or in November and so on. This one, I've got a blanket of six months. And that will be my only question on self measures.
Okay. Oh, you're done. I was waiting for the full stop.
Yes, I said that was the only matter that I had on self, Chairperson.
Before I go to Honorable Mtenjane, beside Honorable Mtenjane, Honorable Phillips, and Honorable Kula, is there someone I'm leaving outside? I guess none. Mtenjane.
Yes, good morning, Chairperson. Thank you very much for the opportunity. Chairperson, of course, I'll start by saying the disorganized of the department, there's a saying that the fish start to rot from the head. We all know that our minister also is just the same like this department. He does not take us serious. He does not attend the committees, but many other ministers, they attend their portfolio committees. So we must start there. He must start to take us serious. That is where we need to start. And then when we come to the presentation, well, like already my colleagues have said already, Chairperson, this presentation is not even convincing, especially the one for SEF. They are just always here. They've become a broken record actually, because every time when they come to this committee, they are coming to tell us that they've got problems. They know they've got the problems. They want to solve them. Every time they want to tell us that they've got a plan. Last year, they told us the same thing. And now this year, when they were here, they told us the very same thing, that they know there's a problem and then they're going to solve it. But they are coming again with the same story of telling us exactly that they do have a problem. We all know that as a committee, we already know they got a problem. But they must come up with a plan, the proper plan that is convincing to us, to this committee, to tell us, to say, this is what we're going to do in a certain date like this, like that, so that we have the full detail, so that someone must take account. If you tell us that you're going to do something in 6 months, 6 months from when? You don't tell us from when. We don't know that 6 months, when is it ending? And then we don't know also who's going to be accountable for this if it doesn't happen, because it must happen. It's long overdue that we are busy dilly-dallying in the same thing. Number two, in their plan, we don't hear anything where they are telling us that they're going to reduce some of the buildings that they are renting as their offices. Because we all know, Chairperson, that the problem here with this, with SEF, they've got many buildings which they are renting. They are paying a lot of money, a lot of billions of rent. We don't know, maybe it's a special arrangement for this thing that is going on of the corruption and all those things. We don't know. So they must come up clean and stop renting many buildings that will have saved a lot of money. They can use one office, because remember, this is the same department. They must use one office for their own different entities. They can use one office. That will be fine, and that will be also cost cutting. So that is all we can say, Chairperson, that please, next time when they come here, they must tell us exactly when are they going to do what and when and how they're going to do it, so that we all are clear. So in as far as the restructuring and the workers losing their job and all those things, well, my colleagues has covered all. We need to know what's going to happen with the workers when because we didn't hear also there as to what's going to happen with the other workers when they merge them together. What's going to happen with them? Is there any going to be job losses or so? Because we can't afford many job losses at this time, at this alarming rate of job losses in South Africa. Thank you very much, Chairperson.
Thank you, Babum Tenjane. I even gave you a bonus of 1 minute. Honorable Phillips.
Good morning, Chair. Good morning to everybody. Thank you. I'm also a little bit concerned that the presentation was very light on detail. I have the same question for all three entities, so they can just make note of it now and answer me when they get to their turn. My first question is, monetary-wise, what is going to be the savings of your rationalization? The second one is, when can we expect it to be completed, the date? And the third one is, I'd like to know how many people in the various entities are on suspension. And then related to that, how will their cases be handled going forward when these entities have been rationalized? Thank you so much.
Babu Kula. Honorable Kula, sir. Hey. It seems Mr. Kula is not here. Let me reserve my comments until we finish some of the issues that were raised. I will deal with them later on because they might cut across the presentations made. Honorable Minister. You all have
okay.
20 minutes.
I want to give the team the opportunity to answer to questions. Many should be answered directly by the team. At the end, I will comment on the issues that are directed to me. DG.
Thank you very much, Honorable Minister. We will first start with the CEO of CF to respond to the questions that are directed to his presentation or the presentation of CF. We also have a question on the diesel. Mr. Makubela will come in there. Then Ms. Nwabe, DDG, would also comment on the petroleum bill. Thank you very much, Honorable Minister. In that order, colleagues.
Thank you, Chair. The first question, and it had other as well, similar to it, is the plans around retrenchments. We have started the process to engage labor, to open the discussions with an intention to see how we could minimize the loss of jobs with labor. That's where we are. So we are in a process of engaging labor in this regard so that we could then jointly see how best we could minimize the impact of job losses. And in as far as the program is concerned, indeed the service providers were appointed through a competitive process, and the budget thereof is 65 million rands. And the other issue with regards to the feedstock is that the feedstock, as part of this restructuring process, it is also to ensure that we refurbish the refinery with the intent of converting it so that we can use the liquid stock so as to address the issue of the feedstock shortages by providing that permanent solution, so to speak. And as far as the GTL disposal, the facility, we are exploring various options. Included in that is the disposal, of course, but not only limited to that. If we could find a partner who could assist in ensuring that we are able to commercialize that unit, we are also open to it, and we are looking at various options in that regard. When do we start? We are currently at the mobilization stage. Like I said, from 1st of September, that process will start in earnest of the restructuring. So members could hold us to account with that date from 1st of September moving forward. But like I said, we have started now with mobilization, as it were. And in as far as the cost reduction is concerned, I think it was raised by Honorable Philip, is that we will be obviously coming back in a few months' time, wherein we would be demonstrating how the operational efficiencies, the rationalization of buildings have yielded savings in as far as that is concerned, this initiative is concerned. That would be all that I've captured, Chair, unless I've left something. Thank you.
Good morning, Honorable Chairperson, Honorable members, Honorable Minister, DG. Mine is to answer to the question on diesel. What I can say is that we had challenges with diesel. Occasioned mainly by illegal activity. And that illegal activity involves the rampant theft of fuel from the pipeline, and in some cases attempted theft of fuel from the pipeline. So this is a criminal activity that is currently receiving attention. The DG has convened a number of meetings with both the South African Police Service as well as Transnet to try and find a way of stemming the tide on this illegal activity. There have been some positives in the sense that some arrests have been made, particularly in the Rustenburg area. The provinces where we're experiencing challenges mainly are around Mpumalanga as well as the Northwest. But there were attempted thefts even in the Gauteng area. So that, in the main, was the key cause of the diesel challenges that we had. However, there was also an issue of COVID-19 as a result of ports, particularly East London Port was impacted by workers contracting COVID-19, and then cargoes could not be offloaded. So those are the challenges that really impacted the availability of diesel. Lastly, I think it would also be important for me to note that we also had unplanned shutdowns at PetroSA itself, and that this had an impact on the availability of diesel for other oil companies that are supplied by PetroSA. So, however, I can say now that the situation has normalized. But we continue to have sporadic incidents of this fuel theft. And it is quite an organized syndicate because they only target when diesel is being transported in the pipeline in the main. Thank you very much.
Okay. Morning, Honorable Chair, Honorable Members, Minister, DG, and colleagues. This is Ntokozo. I'm just going to comment on the petroleum bill. With regards to progress made to date on the petroleum bill, honorable members would recall that we gazetted the draft bill for comments in December last year, and the comments period closed at the end of February. So between that time and today, during the lockdown period, we've managed to consult a total of about 42 different stakeholders on the bill. And these stakeholders would include oil companies, NGOs, and a whole broad range of stakeholders. We have, however, noted concerns from different quarters in relation to the fact that we have not managed.
Sorry, the speaker. Can I ask the speaker to switch on the video?
Oh, no.
I am.
Yes, no,
Okay.
sorry, it's for recording purposes. Thank you.
I was saying we've noted concerns relating to the fact that we have not been able to consult communities. And this is mainly because they do not have access to your Zoom and all the virtual platforms. We are very much aware of that, and we will provide space and time for us to consult communities. But also maybe for the committee to note that the state law advisor tagged this bill a Section 76 bill. So consultations with communities will still happen anyway during the parliamentary process. So I'm just putting that out there so that in case members have questions regarding that, we are aware of that and it is going to happen. when the time is right. But maybe also to say that based on the consultations we've done and the reworking of the bill and incorporating some of the comments we've received from stakeholders, we will be ready as early as end of August to go back to Cabinet, to table the bill in Cabinet, with the hope that from there we can take it forward for tabling in Parliament. Because we did set ourselves a target that by the end of this financial year, we would have tabled this bill in Parliament. So we are still on track with that. We've managed to work throughout the lockdown period on the bill without any glitches. But maybe to talk to briefly the crux of the bill, there's just 4 points that sit at the very center of this bill. One, the main thing that we thought would be a missed opportunity if we didn't look into it with this bill is for the establishment of a national oil company. Since the establishment of PetroSA, it has been sort of operating as the company, but it has never been designated. And if you look at other oil countries that we've benchmarked against and what drove their success is the fact that you would find that there would be a national oil company established in terms of a legislation. So that's the first big thing that we thought we needed to do. So we're doing that. We're designating PetroSA in the bill to be the national state oil company. I know that members might say, what would the impact of the merger of these entities be on that? The impact would just be that we would have to change the language in the bill based on the outcome of the merger. So while the process unfolds, we will be very much aware of that and keeping that in mind. And we will make sure that we align. But the bigger goal here is to position a national oil company to partake in this sector as we seek to grow it. The second major aspect of the bill is to unlock the upstream petroleum economy. And the idea is to do that within the broader conversation of the blue economy when it comes to the exploitation of offshore resources. Thirdly, we want to ensure that we provide maximum socio-economic benefits for the country as we grow this economy. And lastly, is to ensure the realization and the implementation of what is contained in the IRP, which is the blueprint really for the country insofar as energy and the energy mix is concerned for the country. So on the bill, there is alignment with what is happening with the entities or companies, state companies that are playing in the space. We are working such that we keep tabs with colleagues on issues affecting the state take or government take, if I may say, in the space. And the idea is to make sure that we really, as the state, derive maximum benefit out of the growth of this economy. Thank you, Honorable Chair.
Thank you very much, DDG, and also the CEO. The DDG is actually. Minister, I just want to cover one point, then I would then hand over to the Honorable Minister. I will not get into the questions that are directed to the Minister, but there is one point that I just want to amplify. There is a question here by the Honorable Member that what is our strategic rationale to amalgamate the 3 underperforming entities? I just want to clarify at this point that as the presentation from CF Group CEO has clarified that even the Minister in his opening remarks has raised that the point that it's only Petro SA that is in the red under the CEF stable. Now, I just want to clarify this point that it is not the other two entities, which is e-gas and also SFF. Those three entities or subsidiaries of CF Group are doing very well. I thought that I should just give context to this point. Now, I'm going to hand over to the Honorable Minister. Thank you very much, Minister.
Thank you very much, Honorable Chairperson and members of the Portfolio Committee. I visited Petro SA during the lockdown, just to have a sense of what is happening there myself. There are two things that I want to highlight. In that visit, the unions working at Petro SA themselves, all three of them, they acknowledge the fact that the staffing is bloated at Petro SA. The second point was that out of the three plants, only one is operational, so they are working at 1/3, which makes Petro SA really a troubled entity itself. And the third factor is the fact that you have an entity of state that has no CEO for 5 years. Now, all those issues are part of the factors that were taken into account in restructuring these entities. DG has corrected the fact that what is the rationale of measuring 3 entities making loss? Honorable Zungula, only Petro SA is making loss. SFF is not making loss. I guess is not making loss. So we're measuring 2 healthy entities with a sick entity. But there's a lot of work done to correct the situation at Petro SA, including putting into stream all 3 plants. Now, I would imagine that if the Portfolio Committee want more details, it will get that as we proceed, because one of the things that is important about restructuring is that it is a process. So you don't announce the outcomes during the process, because if you don't apply your mind on the lead activities, the end product may not be a reality. So we're paying a lot of attention on the lead activities that will translate into a healthy national petroleum entity in South Africa. The second point is IRP must be reported yearly. What is the status and the need for the roadmap for South Africa? We've got the IRP. We published it on the 19th of October, 2019. Okay, I take responsibility for lack of publication of the IRP for years before I came in, because leadership is continuous. But we published the IRP on the 19th of October in 2020. So an accusation that we're failing to do what we should do is actually...
Chairperson? Chairperson?
Is that a point of order, Honorable Mailan?
Chair, it's a point of clarity. I didn't say the IRP, I said the IEP, the Integrated Energy Plan.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
No, you said, okay. But the point I make is that IRP is part of that. We published it on the 19th of October, 2019. We'll do what should be done. What members of the Portfolio Committee must appreciate is that when an individual walks into a portfolio, one of the things that you should avoid doing is to have a red pen and mark everything that was done before you red. You must be systematic and grow into the portfolio by working systematically, working with this team that I have brought here today. So that is what we're busy doing, Honorable Mailam. We are not running at neck break speed so that we're seen to be doing better. No, we want to do the right thing. People, there will be retrenchment at Petro SA, but those retrenchments will be in the transition. Our hope is that once we get that entity right, it will absorb many more people into the entity. So it's a necessary transition, painful as it is, but we must go through that transition with the aim of actually creating a more healthy entity. Mendek and Malcolm producing sanitizers. One of the things we've done is to make Mendek and Pelcam work together, because Mendek produce testing kits for various sicknesses, HIV, malaria, River Valley, and many others, Ebola, while Pelcam is producing ARVs. We said it makes sense to pull their work together and begin to work on mass production of these, working with the Department of Health. We're in the middle of that. When they produce sanitizers, they work together. There was a question of whether managers, workers are in good terms in NEXA. Honorable Malinga, I will remember that at one point, workers were on lunch break demonstration every day. You don't see that now. And that is a function of working and managing relations. A relation don't get perfect by wish. You manage them, you engage them. I'm not sure if I will wait a chairperson and Adilzip to actually tell me if I am the rot in terms of attending portfolio committee meetings. I think I will need an explanation of that. I don't want to get into that. I won't respond, Honorable Mtenjan, on that. But I'm not the rot in terms of the relation between the ministry and the portfolio committee. I'm not the rot. I respect this portfolio committee. I honor it. And I do what I can do. When there is a clash, portfolio committee, serious cabinet meetings this side, I indicate that, listen, we have this assignment that we're doing. I am sending an apology, but I make sure that the team that comes to the portfolio committee is the top team of the department. But I will need a proper feedback on that. Reduction of offices. We are working on all those things. For example, one of the discussions we're having is whether it is necessary to have the big Cape Town office. We are discussing that ourselves. And we say that is too much. You can't have bigger support staff than the operational staff. We are looking into those issues. So that's the issues that will come back here and report as we implement our plan. But the reality of the matter is that we're looking into all those issues. That, listen, the better solution is to have offices in Mossel Bay. That's where the operation is. And so that offices are close to the operation. Those are the issues that are on the table. So we don't report on what you have in mind, we report on what is being effected, but I'm giving you the feedback that we're looking into those. Particularly the Cape Town office is just too big, with too many people. As I tell you that we went to Mossel Bay physically, we have the breakdown of how many people are where, how many people are in what operation, and we're looking into those. The issue that the CEO touched is possibility of disposing certain businesses. One of the decisions we took here is that when there was a stampede wanting to sell Petro SA, we took it in that, no, listen, we can't sell Petro SA. We need that asset for the state. Let's work on it. If we succeed, we'll have saved it. If we don't succeed, I wish we succeed. So those are the issues. So we're not planning to sell entities of the state piecemeal. There is no such a plan. We don't want to sell entities of the state piecemeal. We want to work on the entities of the state. It is not a solution to break entities of the state and sell them in pieces. It is not working. We must make entities of the state work commercially sustainably. That's what we're planning. That is all for now, Honorable Chairperson.
Okay, honorable members, I said I will reserve mine to a later stage. Can we deal with Nexa? Now I start from Honorable Kula, Honorable Phillips, Honorable Mtenjane, Honorable Volmarans, Honorable Zungula, then Honorable Malinga, then Honorable Donyane, then Honorable Mylem, then Honorable Mashaule. Let me say this next time, honorable members, you don't be surprised when others will get more time than others. I'm not trying to be smart or clever. The truth of the matter is that when you've got women in your committee, you've got only 3 women in this committee. So they don't just represent their political parties. They are also representing the number of women that don't get an opportunity to be in these high-level positions that we occupy. So I'm still working it on my mind, but the reason I was saying don't compare yourselves to them is that even by number, they are much less of the number in total of the members of the portfolio committee. So therefore, then in this stage, an added advantage of the fact that they don't just have to represent their parties, they also have to represent their own interest as women. So that is the point I thought I need to clarify. Can we go to next? I won't mention a person by name. When the other one is finished, come in immediately. Thank you very much. Okay, Honorable Volmarans. Honorable Volmarans.
Hey.
Yes.
Chairperson, the previous speaker, the minister, answered what I was going to ask with regard to repurposing of the Nexa group. Not so long ago, we had Mintech doing a presentation to us and telling us how much they are ready for going commercial and production levels and where they are. And in the presentation on one of the slides, I was getting that Pelchem was also producing. And I was a bit concerned if they are not going to work together, are they not going to be competing with each other whilst they are in the same stable, especially on the commercial front? And also the question of them both revitalizing Kettlebell. So I just wanted to mention it because I had already noted that part. That was my only concern, and the minister has upfront answered that they are working together. They are making sure that both of them would be going into production together and most probably commercialization together. And I think I'm covered to that effect. Chair, I'm done.
Honorable Phillips.
Thank you, sir. I never got a response about the amount of people who have been suspended and how that's going to be dealt with in the amalgamation from the first entity. But what I would like is an answer to the questions that are posed from for each presentation. They are the same questions. Thank you.
Oh, well, once again, thank you very much, Chairperson. Yeah, well, on NEXA restructuring plan, although we cannot necessarily praise a fish for swimming, but this, I believe, it's a long overdue plan, which as a country we've been waiting for. Remember, as a country, we need to be able also to can produce our own products in as far as health is concerned and many other spaces. For example, it can be correct for a country like South Africa to be found buying testing kits for COVID-19 or whatever it is for any other disease, then buying those things or those equipment from other countries. And that by that creating job for that other countries. We can't, as a country, be doing that. So we are looking, we are here, we are looking, we hear what you are saying, we hear your plan. As NEXA plan, we say, as this committee, yes, this sounds to be a good plan and it's convincing with all the necessary time frames, because when we listen there, they've got all the time frames, which is what we want. Because for us to support them, we need to know what we are supporting. We don't want to be part of something that is confusing. So in this one, we say yes, we are happy about the presentation of the plan. We are looking forward. They will get our support if indeed they're going to operate like this, especially for the benefit of the country. Remember, all what we are doing not necessarily for us or for the committee, but for South Africa, for the people in South Africa who voted for us to come and work for them, so to represent them. So indeed, this is a good plan. Thank you very much. We support it.
Okay. Honorable, is Honorable Kula back? No. Honorable Zungula?
Thank you, Chair. I'm very satisfied with the presentation from NEXA. I've got no questions because I'm covered. Thank you.
Okay. Honorable Manning?
Thank you, Chairperson. Mine is not necessarily a question.
You disappeared. Unmute your mic.
No, mute it.
Unmute your mic, yeah.
Chairperson, I don't necessarily have a question, but just to welcome what the chairperson of the board said in terms of the advert for the permanent group CEO. Thank you very much, Chair.
Okay. Anyone, before I go to Honorable Shonyane, and that I left out, except Honorable Shonyane, Mylem, and Masaule. Okay, Honorable Shonyane.
Thank you very much, Chairperson. We welcome the presentation, Chairperson. It was well detailed, but I just have one question on slide 26, and I think the presenter said it in passing, so I just wanted to understand exactly. On slide 26, as they were talking about the carbon capture, utilization, and storage, I think they also spoke about that we have received funding from the World Bank. So I just needed clarity on that funding, that is it this funding or is it a loan? Are we going to pay back, or is it free money in this case? So I just needed clarity on that one. But overall, Chair, we're quite happy with, and we never get quite happy, but we are very quite happy with the presentation. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you, Chairperson. Chairperson, I didn't receive an answer regarding the role of the commercial elements of PASA versus Petro SA when I asked it earlier. And also in response to the Minister's comments, I think that we're putting the cart before the horse by restructuring our entire energy portfolio without a roadmap. Now, the Integrated Energy Plan is a statutory obligation on the Minister and the Department that they are required to meet every single year, and they are not doing it. And my question to him was, when can we anticipate seeing the next Integrated Energy Plan? What is the status of the current Integrated Energy Plan? And why is he not compliant? And why is the department not compliant? And honestly, this is something that goes back, I think the last Integrated Energy Plan is dated 2003, although there were drafts in 2012 and 2016. But we're operating in the dark here. We're operating in a changed environment, and there is no roadmap for the energy sector. And I think it's irresponsible to try and restructure entities without such a roadmap. So I'd really like an answer to that. Then coming to Nexa, one of the questions that I have is, what is the anticipated benefit or the new structure of Nexa look like? What are they going to do differently, and how are they going to return to a more profitable status? Thank you.
Honorable Mashaule.
Thank you very much, Chair. Let me join other colleagues in commending the good work that the Minister and the team has done, specifically with Nexa. It is one of those entities that when they come to report to Parliament, I would have a running stomach, because you would almost expect nothing concrete that would come from the presentation. This is an organization that for 2 consecutive years failed to give Parliament the annual report. And you can tell that things are turning around. There are systems in place in terms of governance. There are plans to turn around Nexa. We are particularly encouraged by the support that the Minister is giving to Kettlebell. Kettlebell seems like it's going to be a game changer in the pharmaceuticals in the South African landscape. We're very happy, and we commend the Minister, the DG, and the team for this outstanding work they are doing in Nexa, and we hope that they will do the same with SEF. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you, honorable members. Just few issues that I think it's important to raise. Some probably might overlap, Honorable Minister. First, I think we must appreciate the fact that there's been an effort, and I think, like honorable members have said, there's been an effort to ensure that there is proper governance and stability. The concern was very much high from the side of I think I'll be speaking for the committee, on the nature of governance at Nexa. But just few issues that I think for me will require to be clarified. The first one is with regard to the restructuring process at Nexa. I heard the chairperson talking about the corporate plan or turnaround strategy, that is still has to be seen or forwarded to the minister for an approval. But then on the other side, we've got a process that is underway. And what could be the challenge? We're asking these questions because sometimes you need to ask a question rather than to question the process. And therefore, it's important to have clarity on some of the process. There can be clarity on these two. I'm just concerned about the fact that when you have done your overall restructuring, you then start to look at whether the restructuring process will have to follow the turnaround strategy or the corporate plan, or is it the other way? How you manage the two? I think that we have to important to get clarity. The second thing is that we all know in the report initially when the entity came for quite a long time, there's been a protracted to and fro between the board, whether it was a correct one or not, and the then CEO. Now, I hear that there is a specific advert, which I'm going to speak to also. I must say I've seen the advert. What my own small things, if we can get clarity on. Part of that problem is that what is the current status with the, don't want to say the former CEO, or with the activities between the board and the CEO with regards to the legal challenges that were there. The third issue, I think, Chair, you must assist us, if I got you correctly, except if I understood the arrangement, is that in your presentation, you made mention of the fact that in the restructuring process and how you have been attending to that issue, you said the first step that you took was to make sure that Nexa board takes over the activities of both Pelcam and, if I'm correct, and NTP. But on the other side, there is something that says in managing the restructuring process, specifically with regards to the question of the hunting for a CEO, you have also identified, including yourself amongst those people, the chair or former chair of Pelcam and NTP. The big question will be, were you identifying people who are no longer part of a board and what informed that, or you were identifying them in their capacity as board members? I think it's critical. The last point is that when I looked at the advert, I must say the major concerning part is that you are appointing someone after a long battle with the then, let me use the word in inverted commas, the then board, the then CEO. Now, I must say I'm very concerned, if I'm calculated correctly, looking for a CEO for a period of 1 week. And to what extent do you think you'll be able to identify a proper candidate? I must say also my major concern, I know, is also the question of the question of the protection of information on such a critical entity. When I looked in the initial or in one of the requirements, generally for public servants, and I must say with the current experiences that one is observing, when the question of security clearance or what do you call it, vetting, it is not part of the requirements that will have to be followed. What could be the implications thereof? I'm quite skeptical looking at the nature of the property ownership. To what extent information is at risk if there is no requirement that ensures that whoever gets appointed, the level of information, it cannot be easily transferred anywhere else. So I'm just worried about also that part, that I'm not saying, for instance, for a long time, there have been a battle to and from whether entities like CGS, because of the information that they are and the data that they are dealing with, shouldn't be declared. And finally, they were declared, although there were still reservations, they were declared as what do you call this thing? Whatever you call it, but national key points. I'm not saying we should convert that one, but I'm looking at what we are dealing with. If that there is no such a process, how much can we have a guarantee that the information is not at risk? I think I will leave it at that stage. Minister, please, I know that honorable members are going back also to who was addressing this committee from, who was the chair or acting chair. The last chair we know was the late Dr. Nyande. For the records, because remember, we seem not to be giving us who was the acting chair who was addressing it. If we're in an open physical meeting like we used to do, at least we would have seen the chairperson. Two, I only saw that as written from the group CEOs, only written like on the screen for the group CEO. So it's important just to know so that tomorrow we don't just speak and say, no, the acting chair, when we don't know who's the acting chair. At least Nexa told us that it's who was addressing us, and we saw the chair of Nexa, and he introduced himself. The acting chair of acting CEO of Nexa, at least also introduced himself and apologized for the hiccup that had happened. So we don't want tomorrow to be told that no, that person who was speaking was sorry, so not what we know. Thank you very much. 15 minutes on this one, not too much.
Thank you very much, Honorable Chairperson and members. The CEO, the Group CEO of SAF is Honorable, if I can call a CEO Honorable. He is not a member of the Portfolio Committee, the CEO is Ishmael Polo, P-O-O-L-O. Ishmael Polo is Dr. Ishmael Polo, is the CEO of SAF Group. We appointed him after a long search, and we did appoint him. The acting chairperson is Nkululeko Poya. We are going to look for a chairman of the group, and anybody is in the running, including him. But at this point in time, he's acting. Nkululeko Poya. That's it. I will allow people from the various streams of the department to give responses. I will speak light, but all I can correct now is the fact that security clearance is practice in government appointments, particularly at these levels of CEOs and senior appointments. So you don't need to say there will be security clearance. It is standard practice. Verification of qualification, security clearance, and all that is standard practice. I don't want to talk to the identification of proper candidates. We advertise, we get into a selection process that is detailed and select a candidate. But let me leave these two. But I want to start with the CGS CEO, Musa Mabuza and Togozo and Nwabe, to deal with the PASA Petro SA issue and the IEP.
Thank you, Honorable Chair. The question raised by Honorable Mailem on the PASA Petro SA commercial activities. PASA is a repository of geotechnical and seismic data, and they do sell that data. Just like CGS is a repository of geological data for mining purposes, and they do sell that data. So that's the commercial aspect of PASA. Whereas with Petro SA, they operate as a state-owned oil company, and they operate and trade as such. So their commercial activities are different in that regard. And coming to the question on the IEP is in the APP for this financial year, and we would have finalized it by the end of this financial year. So as we speak, the team is hard at work on the drafting of the IEP. Thank you, Honorable Chair.
Thank you, Honorable Minister, Honorable Chair, Honorable Members. DDG has largely addressed the question, but in addition to her submission is that PASA is created as mainly a legislative authority for petroleum resources in terms of the MPRDA as a key function that they execute. Whereas Petro SA undertakes commercial or development of petroleum resources. So there's a clear delineation in terms of the separation of responsibilities in terms of PASA and Petro SA, to the extent that PASA would license all operators, all that are interested in respect of petroleum development, and Petro SA would in the main be on the development part of the petroleum resources in the various areas of interest. And all of that is at the fulcrum of the energy development of the nation, the IEP of which, as DDG has indicated, is a subject of finalization this year. Thank you very much, Honorable Minister.
Nexa.
Okay, thank you, Minister. I will try and cover the questions that were raised. I apologize if I have missed any. I'll first of all comment, yes, in terms of the committee we have formed on restructuring, the prior chair of NTP, Dr. Nemani Machau, and the prior chair of PELCHEM, Mr. James Maboa, are also board members of NEXA. So we were appointed 4 of the NEXA board members to be the restructuring committee, but because of their background, we put the prior chair of both NTP and NEXA on that committee. In fact, the committee is chaired by Mr. Maboa. The other question was asked was dates of the restructuring program, and that was we put the target dates on the slide we presented. In terms of monetary savings, we are primarily seeing it as an organizational shuffle to remove the corporate overhead issues related to NTP and NEXA. Put it simply, we used to have 3 complete boards being paid off. We've now got down to 1 board, same as company secretary and so on. In terms of the corporate plan versus the restructuring, the corporate plan and the structure, the going forward of the company was established before the restructuring. So the structure is aimed to be one that will support the corporate recovery plan that we put together and submitted to the minister about a week or two ago. I'm trying, I've covered everything. The other issue I would just comment is that in terms of the status financially, the plan that we submitted was when we inherited had a proposed loss this year of 239 million. We believe that COVID-19 has cost the company in terms of lost income just short of 400 million rand, and the revised we were hoping to bring the company into profit this year prior to COVID-19. We haven't managed that, but with COVID-19 we've made over about 250 million rand turnaround from where we would have been if we'd not made the changes. So we're looking at a loss this year of 331 million rand on the projection. And that is realistic. We believe that the present corporate plan says that from next year, next financial year we will have a slight profit. So the restructuring is incorporated, was discussed earlier, the recovery plan, which was being discussed extensively in front of the committee as a hand-waving activity, has now been included in the corporate plan. And the restructuring of the three companies is being done to support that corporate plan. I will also just comment in terms of the sanitizer. The market for sanitizers is so large that even if Pelchem and Mintech were to just go different ways, there is still a big enough market that they will not impact each other. I think I've covered all the issues. Mr. Chair, I apologise if I've missed any off the list. But oh yes, I'm going to ask the question: how many are on suspension? I just mentioned we have resolved the issue with the former CEO. That is resolved. That is why the advert could go out. And I would ask Ayanda, to my CEO, to talk about how many are on suspension as we speak now.
All right. Thank you, Chairperson. Good morning to the Chairperson of the Portfolio Committee, the members, and the Minister, as well as the DG. My name is Ayanda Myoli, Acting Group CEO at Nexa. If I may, Dave, there's just a few other questions that I can address quickly and then come to that one that you've just mentioned.
Certainly.
Yeah. Honorable Kevin Mayhem asked a question about the anticipated benefit from our rationalization. As you have stated correctly, Chair, structure follows strategy. As we have developed a long-term turnaround and sustainability strategy for Nexa, we have to look at the structure that would best deliver on that strategy. So we are really looking at a new operating model, new business model to strengthen our business focus across the group. We're looking at dealing with possible duplication that exists across the group. We're looking at synergies between Nexa Corporate as well as the subsidiaries. We're looking at rationalization of functions across the group. For example, you have HR, at Nexa Corporate, you have HR and subsidiaries as well. You have IT and so it goes across the group. So we need to look at rationalizing all of those functions. We look at having the right skill set for long-term strategy, and some of our new projects we've identified, especially in impact area projects that are more R&D projects that will lead to commercialization, as well as future income streams for Nexa. We look at the salary bill of Nexa. I mean, we really believe our salary bill is high, and there is scope for us to reduce that. So those are some of the benefits, Honorable Madam, that we're looking at achieving through the rationalization. Honorable Phillips, what is the saving that we expect on the rationalization? You will realize from the scope that I've mentioned, that there's huge savings that we expect. We don't have the numbers, as it were, but this will come out of this project that we will engage on. It's a whole year project, so to speak, and surely those numbers would come out of that. I'm not sure if there's any other question. Yeah, all right. If we come to the one that you've raised, you've mentioned, Dave, regarding people who've been suspended. Currently, I can't recall of any suspensions that we have. I think those that we had, they ended up in an outcome that we've had, and we're busy dealing with some of those outcomes, but no suspension that I can recall at this stage, Chair. That is, not concluded. That's all from my side, Chair. Thank you.
Thank you.
Chairperson, before I conclude and hand it back to you, I want Musama Boza, because he didn't apologize when he came back, to talk to the question of Sanedi. Is it Sanedi and CGS, with people working from CGS? He didn't give the response to that question. And I want him to give that response. Musa?
Thank you, Minister, and thank you, Honorable Chair and members. Sincere apologies to the committee. I had joined the meeting at the beginning, and just at the time when the presentation affecting us came in was when I was making a submission to the committee. I apologize most sincerely for that. It is by no means a reflection of what I deem to be the value of this committee. On the question of Sanedi and CGS program, the World Bank had, in partnership with South Africa, there is a grant to the tune of $23 million. And South Africa is contributing $15 million to this partnership. So in total, there is $38 million attached to the project of carbon capture, storage, and utilization. This project has been approved and unfortunately a subject of lack of implementation for many years. The arrangement of the grant is that the project ought to have been implemented within 5 years. We are now in the 4th year of that project, and implementation had not been forthcoming. And for that reason, the minister had decided that the implementing agency of this project be changed from Sanedi to CGS. We have requested from the World Bank that they do not have to give us the 5 years that was originally in place, but if they can give us a 12 months extension in order to fast track the implementation of the project. There are several things that have happened. The first one is that we have re-looked at the geology so that we bring the piloting site proximal to the major carbon emitters. We have identified that site, which is very close to the major sources of carbon emissions. Now, this project has to be understood as a scientific intervention that will support the just transition policy pronouncement, the carbon just transition policy pronouncement. Now, we are finalizing the administrative arrangements for the handover of the project. So with effects from the 1st of September, this project will be run from the CGS fully. From the 1st of July, we had sort of taken over the project, and our scientists have been looking at the science and the options that can be done and so on. But effectively from the 1st of September, the project will be fully run with human resources as well as the financial resources now fully transferred from SANEDI to the Council for Geoscience. Honorable members, there were 9 employees that were attached to the project in SANEDI. We, in our discussions and looking at streamlining the project to make sure that we take as little time and implement as efficiently and as effectively as possible this project. We've been in engagement with them. We've looked at the optimal structuring of the project, and we are in agreement that out of the 9 that were attached to the project from the SANEDI side, 7 we will be taking over to our side, and the other 2 who are employees of SANEDI, the first preference will be for SANEDI to find other roles that they can play within the organization. So we are at the advanced stage of taking over the project. We are very confident that the state and stage of implementation of the project, we stand ready as the CGS. Our scientists have been prepared. We have engaged with the World Bank. We have started to engage with the major emitters in South Africa, and we are making good progress in all aspects. And I want to just emphasize that the 23 million that comes from the World Bank is a grant. It is not a loan. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ndademabuza. Thank you, Chairperson. Handing over to you, Chairperson. One of the issues that we've been dealing with NEXA was that to have 3 boards at NEXA was actually too generous. To have the main board and have a board for NTP and a board for PERCAM. That is the exercise of merging them into one NEXA board that runs everything. But the reason that we have some boards serving there is to also deal with the legal requirements. That is on the repurposing. The second issue is we are happy with the progress we're making. You will recall, honorable members, that when we started focusing on governance, we emphasized that if you get governance right, you reduce the risk, operational and financial risk in any organization. And we're beginning to get the results of having regularized governance. We're here today, we're presenting to you information that is coming from those boards, and they are coming to the portfolio committee. We're hard at work. We want us to do what should be done, and we're hard on each other. We may not say that to you. And the question of Person Petro SA has been clarified, Honorable Mela. So there you are. Thank you, Mr. Chairperson. I'm handing over to you.
Yeah, we're not closing. Honorable members, in overall, I'm giving you all of you. Now, starting with Honorable Masaule, 1 minute, on and overall, if there is a matter. 1 minute, Honorable Masaule, followed by Mailam, Honorable Mailam, Honorable Flonyana, Honorable Malenga, Honorable Zungula, Honorable Tenjane, then Honorable Phillips, then Honorable Kula. No, Honorable Kula has disappeared. I've not seen that he is back. Then will be Honorable Volmarans. 1 minute, please.
Thank you, Chair. I am satisfied with the overall discussions and responses, and I will leave it at that. Thank you very much.
Chairperson, thank you. Chairperson, thank you. My questions have been answered. I am still concerned about the lack of planning, long-term planning, that we're operating without a strategic plan for the energy sector. I think that this is a fatal flaw, and I think that the Department of Energy needs to take responsibility for the fact that it has not delivered on its legislated mandate in terms of the Integrated Energy Plan and the National Energy Act, Section 6.1. And I think it's something that we've allowed them to get off the hook with. So, Minister, I take note of the fact that it's in the APP, and we will hold you and your department accountable in that regard to ensure that we get an IEP out of you this year and next year and every year going forward. That said, I look forward to seeing a more functional Central Energy Fund and a more functional NEXA going forward. And certainly, if we can get rid of some of the dead wood and make these entities profitable again, I would really welcome that. Thank you.
Thank you, Chairperson. Yeah, I'm still, I'm just going to go back to that CEF slide 14 again. I hear that they're saying to us that they're going to spend 65 million rands on the implementation partners, right? So we're spending money, I guess, to save money. So overall, can I get a clarity of saying when we'll spend the 65 million, exactly how much does the department think we're going to gain by spending 65 million rand? So if I can get a clarity on how much is it going to be our return on investment of this 65 million. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Chairperson. I am almost satisfied with all the presentations, Chair, and the responses we got from the department and the entities. But Chairperson, my worry is with this implementation of the project by CGS, the project that delayed for 4 years. Then Bonat, I think, is it possible that they will produce or they will be able to complete this project in 24 months? Because if they are left with a year and they have requested a 12 months extension from the World Bank, are they sure that they will be able to implement a project that was not implemented in 4 years in 2 years time? Also, Chairperson, lastly, can SEF really explain it to me? What is international best practices? What do they mean by that? Thank you very much, Chair.
Honorable Zuma.
Thank you, Chair. I'm covered.
Honorable Kula, are you around? No. Honorable Chenjan.
Well, once again, thank you very much, Chairperson. Well, everything sounds to be clear, but then also some small suspicious also. I'll be going together with my colleague who just also was surprised about the issue of the project, which is supposed to take 4 years, and then CGS will take it now in 12 months if they say. Is it proper? if they can clarify that for us. And also, I'm a bit suspicious about the $23 million, which he said is a grant. Because remember, there's nothing for Mahala. That's what we know. All of us, we know that. So we must just get a proper explanation as to, is it a grant? Why a grant? What is the favor in return? We need to know that, because remember, World Bank, they are in business. They are doing business, so they can't just give people grants. So what is the return? What is the return favor for this $23 million? Thank you very much, Chairperson.
Honorable Phillips.
Thank you so much, Chair. Yes, I've just got a question about the consultants that seem to be being used for this process. Is it Mazars, and was the contract put out to tender? If so, where and when was it advertised? Thank you.
Honorable Walmarans.
Thanks, Chair. The overall presentations are more than welcome, and the responses that we got are satisfactory. At the beginning of the presentations, specifically at CEF, Comrade Mahlaule asked with regard to the labor component. Now, I wanted to, unless I've missed it, but I wanted to check on all the entities, what the impact of this rationalization, restructuring is on all the entities' labor. How is it going to affect them? Isn't it that since they fall under the department, we would have to quantify if there's going to be any losses, any job losses, or mitigating factors that can save losses. So if that can be quantified, perhaps in the next submissions that will come through. A holistic response to the entire labor force that is going to be affected across these entities. Thanks, Chair.
Thank you, honorable members. Thank you to the department. I'm sure we'll come back later. Honorable Minister, just a few issues which I think from the other side they cut across. Just if we can get in the bigger scheme of things, in terms of projections, is there any possibility that looks at beyond, because the way I look at it, the restructuring seems to be mainly focused on or within or intra-entity. Is there a possibility of an inter-entity restructuring exercise? For an example, in as much as it's reducing entities, does it look at entities that may not be in the same group to say this is what can be common to be performed, or even a cross-border restructuring that could take place? I think that is important to look at in order to ensure that there is limited. The second thing I think it's important also to check is that looking at the submission made, my worry is that I can't get a sense of a compelling case, and you'll bear with us. We have not experienced what we've seen in many of those other entities, but even this, even small might be, I was taught in the retail industry, if you are extra with 5 rands, you've got a case to go and answer, even if you are less with 20 cents, because it will be 5 rands today or 5 cents today, few years, sometime to come, it will be more. Now, I can't get a clarity. One, we are supposed to have a framework understanding of restructuring. And if we do, aren't we running the risk of spending 65 million rands on consultancy work to do what we are supposed to do? I'm including us as a committee to do what we are supposed to do. I can't get a breakdown, and I must be honest, Honorable Minister, public service, part of the confidence in public service is eroded by the fact that we don't deal with item by item. I can't get a breakdown of the 65 million rands, so that we know that we are not talking about people who will put in a bottle of water, which is supposed to be 8 rands, now is brought in as 25 rands. So if we can get what is the compelling argument for the restructuring process to be such much of a cost to what we are supposed to do, don't we have people in different levels, even in the department, who can perform this job instead of outsourcing a work that is supposed to be our own public representative? I'm including ourselves as the committee. I know it's an operational exercise that in the main, the department must account. So I can't find a justification so that tomorrow people don't say, when we question the 65 million rands, say, no, but we did tell you that this is the amount. If we don't have that amount, that justification on the expenditure up to that level, when some of us might argue and say, there are people who could be able to perform this job. For example, if we've got SAF, can SAF justify the different committees that they have, as they have done with the turnaround strategy? What could be the challenge now to justify the expenditure? The last thing that I wanted to raise, that's why I said I would wait until this thing we finalize, is the point that Honorable Malinga was raising. To what extent do we look at this not just as a matter of international best practices, but to what extent will this contribute towards building a productive entities for the state in whatever form that productiveness brings on board? To what extent do we look at this as a mechanism, whether good governance, whether it's ability to perform to the maximum in terms of performing KPIs and so forth? To what extent are we looking at this so that we don't deal with issues outside what is the demand? I thought I must flag those issues. But as members say, and I agree with you, Minister, we wanted to have an understanding, not necessarily to say in quantum, what have you done? We wanted to have an understanding of the framework under which you are conducting the restructuring process. And we think so far, there's a lot of work that is being done. Obviously, we'll come back at the end of the conclusion to see whether what was outlined as a framework has been done to the successful and end of conclusion. So let me give it to you. You can even also do your closing remarks at the end. Unmute, but
how do I mute up? I will take up the challenge given to me by Honorable Malan of getting an IEP out of me before the end of this year. They were taking that challenge up as a team. Let me, or should I give the team to comment before I preempt them and close the matter? Any of you want to comment, DG?
Thank you very much, Honorable Minister. I have the CEO of CF that will comment. Then I'll come in to close. Thank you very much, Minister, and hand over to you. CEO? Hand over to you. CEO?
Thank you. On the question of the process for appointment of the consortia, which is Bayajula, A.T. Kenny, Mazars, it's a consortium led by A.T. Kenny. The work was advertised at the National Treasury System. So, yes, that's why we said it followed the open competitive bid process. Now, in as far as the issues of return on investments are concerned, like we said, we will come back with that, but safe to state that there is a clear case for benefit of this sort of rationalization. Like we've said, we've got a lot of duplication work of activities within the group itself. Hence, we are seeing as part of this outcome the issue of shared services, so as we can also deal with issues of operational inefficiencies, the rationalization exercise, which will help us with lots of other duplication in the IT space and issues that were raised, like your buildings, for an example. So there is a clear case in that regard. We will be able to come back to quantify the benefits thereof to the committee. I think those were the main two issues that were raised. The issue on also the reason for getting an outside company to assist with rationalization. There have been a lot of internal initiatives before, but what has proved not to have worked, which the leadership has later came to say, you guys cannot self-amputate, where you needed an independent company that would objectively raise the issues that needs to be dealt with and those that needs to be reorganized within the business. Hence the need for this external company with vast experience in the merger and acquisition space. Thank you. Thank you, Gigi.
CEO for Council for Geoscience.
Thank you, DG. Thank you, Minister and Chair, honorable members. There were two follow-up questions. The first is that would we be able to do this in 2 years? Now, what has been lacking has been the actual implementation. But there's a lot of groundwork that Sanedi had already done. So we will not be starting necessarily from scratch. And we are reasonably confident that if we are granted that year as an extension, building on the baseline that Sanedi has built over the years, and bringing some of the employees over as part of the seamless transition, we have confidence that we'll be able to do that. And the question of return of investment, Honorable, we are blessed with abundant coal resources. And we know that continuing to burn coal for energy security using all the methodologies and technologies that we have been using to date contribute to climate change. This presents an opportunity for us to bring a scientific intervention and a scientific approach that can help, possibly until it's proven, South Africa to continue to use its abundant coal resources to meet its developmental needs. That, in my view, is the greatest return on investment of us as the South African people participating in this research proposition. And we plead that we give it a chance. It is science. In science, we don't know what we don't know. So let's allow the science to happen in the next 2 years, and we will report back in between interimly and give you the confidence. But the end state is that this science will be the very foundation on which we justify the notion of a just transition, part of which will be the coal that we are blessed with. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, colleagues. Minister, from my side is just to add on what the CEO has just touched on what will be the return on investment with the amalgamation of the three entities. What we're going to derive out of this process is that, as the minister also highlighted, the issue of the Nexa boards of those subsidiaries of Nexa that we had to collapse. Now, also with this process that we are embarking on, we are going to have one board of the petroleum company that will be a national petroleum company, and also the consolidation of the finance and HR divisions. And so at the moment, it is still a work in progress, as the minister has highlighted, but it goes without saying that we will definitely, get huge benefits out of this process of amalgamation of the three entities. Thank you very much, Honourable Minister and the Chairperson.
Chairperson, there may be entities that are moved out of the group, out of the department. For example, there's a hot debate about whether mining entities should be in the group when we're regulating. That debate is on the table. So there may be some entities that are moved out of the department. That's one. Number two, are we using consultants on what we should be doing? That is prevalent in public service, Chairperson. But what we have tried to do here, you will see the reports that come here. We're trying to emphasize that the entities must do the work for the state. We don't use consultants, but on this one of merging these three companies, there was a long debate in the department before we reached the decision. Interest played themselves out. It became quite clear that it is going to be impossible for us to cut links and link to. And therefore we said we need somebody, but we have appointed a committee in the department that is overseeing the execution, so that we are not removed from the issue. We are part of the process. But we thought that we needed some outside body that will not have feelings about the pains that we're going to go through. And that's why we opted for consulting this one. We're hoping that these entities can be proactive for the state. Actually, many of these entities do not need to be given support financially by the state. They should be paying dividends to the state. But it needs a lot of work to change that reality and ensure that these entities of state pay dividend to the state. That's what we're busy with. It's not easy, but we're hard at it. Thank you very much, Chairperson. Thank you for the opportunity to be here today. Tenjan, I'm not a rot here. I'm contributing.
Thank you, Honourable Minister. I can see you missed Honourable Intention and Honourable Mailam. At least you can have your chat now, even outside this meeting. But thank you very much for the presentation. Yes, I must say, Honourable Minister, at some point there will be pains here and there, but as all of us are here, we have got a responsibility to the nation, and therefore at times we'll be hard on each other. It doesn't take away that we are playing all our responsibilities, but obviously with mutual respect and mutual recognition of what different roles that we play. So I think, yes, that contradiction of cooperation and at times confrontation will always be there because we have got a duty. But as long as we know that the common interest is the one of ensuring that we do the best of what our people are looking up to us. Thank you very much, and honorable members, can I make a request that I'm looking at the time so that we don't fudge issues. Can we then Friday, when we deal with the reports that we were asked to combine so that the committee can take decisions on certain things or make recommendations rather than to just have committee meetings for the purposes of having committee meetings. That report, I'm sure, is going to reach your desk quite soon. Can we include the proposed revised program of the committee based on what Parliament has also given an instruction for us to do? which means to next this coming Friday when we meet, we will deal specifically with the reports, but also with the revised program. Can you agree to that, please? We're only left with only 2 minutes to 12 o'clock to close the meeting.
Agreed.
We won't be doing justice, honorable members, to that. We will deal with the report and the revised program in next week's meeting, next Friday, and we exhaust. We've got 3 hours, I doubt so that 3 hours. So we might even finish much earlier, depending on how thorough we are on the work we do. With those words, thank you very much, honorable members. Thank you very much, honorable minister. I don't know what you meant when you said Honorable Marshall was preparing something. But
he meant the graveyards there in I had allocated one.
He bought 2 graves because there were news that I'm dead, and he bought 2 graves out of the 1.5 million in Gauteng.
No, all what I can say, honorable minister, is that in football, sometimes people they buy T-shirts for reaching champions and they end up not winning. At least this time around, they would the T-shirts would have said something, and the not winning would have been an advantage. And we are happy that the champions did not win, which is the virus. And you are still here with us. Thank you very much. Thank you very much, honorable members. See you Friday.
Siyabonga, Minister.
Okay. Ngiyakwazi ukuteklisha nje. Tingena bhola ngibona ukuteklishile last time ndiqondile.
Minister, no, siyabonga, Minister, siyabonga.
Inkosi.
Rabona, Minister ufundile.
Ufuna ndeva?
Yeah. No, you are a tiger.
Mama ndibizele ngapha eRustenburg ndokuqhuba phaa ngolmarana.
Yeah.
No, Reshapo mo Rustenburg mo Northwest.
Yes. Right, Unjani. Right, Unjani. You? Sharp. So